Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce Dr. Andy Rindersch, who is the head of RTP, Center for Advanced Studies, and heading the Global Cloud Computing Initiative at IBM, and has many other different titles. I have a long-term research relationship with Dr. Rindersch. We've done phenomenal things together jointly, and more recently with me arriving at the University of Miami, IBM Cloud Computing Academy has given us a substantial resource gift, and also giving us an opportunity to start a number of joint research projects. So today is our first workshop where we'll learn from IBM about phenomenal resources that they have at IBM in terms of analytics, cloud computing, and we'll work together to see how we can push the research agenda together. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Andy Rindersch, who is the director of Center for Advanced Studies worldwide, and he'll say a few words about his organization and then introduce our workshop presenters today. Dr. Rindersch.
So thanks so much, Yelena. Thanks for helping to organize this, and of course our deep, sincere thanks to everybody on the call, taking time away from their Friday afternoon to participate. And I also appreciate, Yelena, you were pronouncing my name the proper Slovak way.
Well, that's easy for me. It's easy for me, right?
Yeah. So thank you there. So as Yelena said, I'm Andy Rindersch, and I head the RTP, that's Research Triangle Park Center for Advanced Studies, or CAS. That actually represents the largest IBM development site in the world. So we coordinate all university relations activities for the site. Every major product, IBM product, is represented there. So we have the senior executive leadership, many of them physically in RTP, as well as a lot of our technical leadership that includes IBM fellows, distinguished engineers, etc. So we're very, very fortunate to be able to work with that community. As such, so I'm personally, and my team who's on the call here, Annan, James, Blaine, Ron, we all report into IBM Cloud. So obviously that's a very important focus of ours. We also own and manage university relations for IBM Cloud worldwide. Bless you, I think.
Oh, thank you, sorry.
And so, as Yelena has mentioned, one of the things that we've done is to provide free cloud for teaching and research for the faculty and students there at University of Miami, and this continues the long-term collaboration relationship that we've shared with Yelena over several decades. So we're looking forward to trying to establish as good relations with the rest of you here on the call, within faculty, perhaps some students as well. So we're hoping to try and establish something as wonderful as we've had for many, many decades with Yelena. So with that said, then there's a number of things that we're able to provide. I don't know if do we have some charts that you want to bring up, Anand? But otherwise I can just talk off the cuff, I guess. So we, in addition to providing free cloud, and my team here on the call does provide, not just, they don't just take cloud and toss it over the fence and say, here you go, take advantage of it. We do actually work as closely as needed with faculty and students, providing special education sessions. Let's see what the second chart says. The CAS stands for Center for Advanced Studies. Okay. Yeah, let's go to the map. Okay. So just real quick, then I also oversee or collaborate with the CAS centers throughout the US and Canada. There are also other CAS centers in other parts of the world, especially in Europe. So it's an official IBM University Relations program. One of the things that I'll mention is IBM has a corporate university relations team and program, a whole set of programs It goes by global university programs. They're going through some transitions now that I guess we'll learn more about going forward. But they do offer a number of programs and resources that we're able to take advantage of on behalf of the academic community, and those includes several funding mechanisms. They have been managing what's called the Academic Initiative for years, which with that program that provides free tier, what we call free tier cloud. But what then we're able to do is if you need more than what's available with the free tier, we can give you accounts that don't have any such restrictions. Anyway, there's a number of CASs, Centers for Advanced Study, in the U.S. And so on the call right now, we actually have Ron Majumdar, who's head of CAS in Chicago, and Anand Singh, who's coordinating our CAS activities in California, long distance, which I guess has become easier with the virtual access and stuff. But he's physically in RTP with me. But we also have leaders. Well, we're hopefully going to have a new leader in Boston. Jeb Litton, who's on my team, manages the DC area, and one of my peer managers in our overall organization, Naeem Altef, manages the Austin site. But we also coordinate with the oldest CAS centers in the world, which are CAS was actually started in Canada back in, I believe, 1990, and started in Toronto. And Yelena, I believe, was working with the CAS folks in Toronto, even
right.
even
I was one of the first faculties actually to join with Jacob Slonim, who was the founder of the concept in the early 90s, right?
Yeah. So CAS focuses on what I'll call the high-touch collaborative relationships with universities. We're especially focused in North America. Okay, that's where we originate from. But we try and I'll say serve as one-stop shopping, so to speak, for the RTP site, right? So I've mentioned within IBM we do have a corporate program that we take advantage of. There's lots of other university relations programs that have arisen from various IBM development organizations, and as I mentioned, we actually own one of those. Additionally as well, which is the University Relations for IBM Cloud, which I guess is certainly the biggest development organization at the RTP site. But there are others associated with various other IBM products, including security and including AI, Watson and AI, and cognitive sciences. So we try and sort of serve as the interface, the one-stop shopping, as I said, to help the university community that we work with, take advantage of all of the different programs that exist within IBM. So I've historically worked not just with universities in North Carolina, but also in the entire Southeast U.S. And even, we've now got a center in the DC area. My CAS leader, who reports to me, Jeb Linton, is out of Northern Virginia, but prior to us getting him in place, I worked with UMBC up in Maryland for many decades with Yelena. So we have a long tradition of working with schools, with universities in the U.S. Southeast, and have worked with other universities in Florida. So we're very excited to start a relationship with the University of Miami. Some of the things that we provide, as I've said, we can provide cloud resources. So we have lots of different services, lots of different platforms and things that we've constructed within IBM Cloud specifically for the academic community for research and teaching. That includes the IBM Cloud for Education. So we've made that. We've already stated and talked with, I think, some of your IT folks in terms of trying to take full advantage of those cloud resources. But we also have various funding opportunities, but as I said, in addition, we also then are here or available, have a long history of working very closely with faculty and students, providing educational sessions, overseeing hackathons. I think at the, so you'll get firsthand experience of this sort of activity or support that we provide. So immediately after this, Ann and then James on my team will go into a workshop introducing you to IBM Cloud and some of our Watson and AI and data science services. And then at the end of it, hopefully we can talk with individual faculty to understand what kind of research needs, what sort of research projects you're working on. What do you need to teach in a classroom? That's very, very important to us to actually meet with the students, because one of the justifications for our existence is to provide IBM with the very best talent from the universities, right? So we're very much interested in identifying your best students, building long-term relationships with the faculty, and hopefully bringing home some of your students, either as starting as interns perhaps, and then on to becoming new hires. So that's a very, very important focus of ours. And so, as I said, we do a lot with providing educational sessions, design sessions, etc., with faculty and students. One of the things I see up there as well is always writing letters of support for grants. And so, the software, perhaps the help, certainly maybe some of the funding that we provide can be used as either in kind or, I guess, actual kind, matching dollars for some of those grant applications that you may pursue. So, I guess let's see the academic initiative. So I guess they're running through stuff. So I mentioned the IBM Academic Cloud. That's actually a cloud that, or it's actually a set of assets, a lot of them built around the NC State, originally developed by NC State. It's an Apache open source cloud platform solution that is now a part of the IBM Cloud. So you can go within the IBM Cloud, and there's a separate menu item that you can click on. And so that has a lot of special assets that have been developed specifically for education and research. They were developed by education and research, so they address a lot of the common needs, challenges, etc., that teaching and research present. And so that's one of the things that you now have access to with the free cloud that we've been providing. Let's see what's next. Well, this is something we've discussed with Elena and others over the years. So University Delivery Services, that was developed jointly with IBM Services, and so we would partner with universities to establish educational programs on campus, and then students would be trained with various skills that IBM Services needed, trained on various IBM tools that services would need familiarity to, and then work with the universities to engage in services contracts with local industry, local government, whatever was required, and of course hire the students to do the work, and hire the faculty as consultants. And it was based on a model that our CAS, our original CAS in Amsterdam, developed with the Benelux countries, where at some point a lot of the companies in the region got very well trained and said, okay, I want to hire IBM for a services engagement, and I want 3 students from University of Twente who I'm going to try and hire, and I want this professor engaged on the contract, and then when you deliver the deliverable, perhaps integration of, Watson into their business processes, we also want to hire the kids that worked on it as part of all that. So that's something long term we can discuss as well. Let's see, awards. So I briefly touched on that. We actually have funding for what we call faculty awards, and those are a specific type of award that the IBM Corporate University Relations folks provide. But they have other awards programs as well that perhaps we can take advantage of. One Open Collaborative Research Awards, that was primarily coordinated, decided by IBM Research, and they would be for research activities that generated either free or open source IP. And so those are things that we can explore. There was a Shared University Research Awards. Those used to be purely for IBM hardware, but they're now just, I guess, the name or umbrella that they use for very large faculty awards that would involve multiple professors, multiple grad students, lots of money, maybe some hardware, cloud services, etc. And certainly we should make sure that we get you involved in the PhD fellowship program as well. So that's each year IBM provides fellowships with stipend and tuition for students that are working on their PhD. So let's see what's next. All right. So anyway, I'll just close out with these part of the charts is that we're really interested in developing, a very close collaborative relationship with the university. We want to establish long-term partnerships with faculty on campus that are interested in working with us. Why do we want to do that? Not just because we're good corporate citizens, of course, I love working with the universities. It's always been my passion for since I joined IBM over 30 years ago. Unfortunately, IBM allows that to happen. But we're interested in your students. Universities uniquely provide the young talent, right? The new blood that us corporations desperately need. And so we're very much interested in through supporting research projects, building relationships with graduate students, but also then we want to support things like senior design projects, capstone projects, entrepreneurial projects associated with such programs. We also want to build a pipeline of undergraduate and graduate students ultimately to employment at IBM. Let's see what we got next. I think we'll have some examples of some projects. In fact, I see the one up in the corner. Let's see there, he's going through some of these. So the Guiding Eyes program, that's actually where, involves, among others, faculty at NC State who are working to try and improve the selection of puppies to go through, go up to like a year and a half of training to become a seeing eye dog. That's a very expensive, very, year and a half or more long-term process. And so, they want to make sure that when they're considering a puppy for such training, that there's a high likelihood that dog will successfully complete the training. You need to match the characteristics of the puppy with the characteristics of the trainer, right? So there's a matching process. And so they've been using our AI technology to help with that. But they're also then collecting real-time physiological data from the puppies as they're being trained. So that exercises all of our IBM cloud-based technologies. You've got real-time streaming data that's being collected that may go through an edge device and need to be pre-processed. And then maybe the pre-processed data goes up into to the cloud to be more intensively analyzed for trends, for recommendations, things like that. So very, very classic project. And we've been supplying the cloud-based technology for that, as well as working with the professors on designing the platforms, training maybe the next wave of graduate students that come in to work on it. And that's with Dr. Albert Boskert and Dave Roberts at NC State. So Alper's with computer science and Dave is with I've got it backwards. Alper is with ECE and Dave is with computer science. Let's take a look at the next one. So I believe that's the Anti-Microbial Resistance Project, AMR. Oh, we went to Chip. Okay. Anyway, we have examples here of a lot of collaborative projects with the partnership with Auburn. They were working on the supply chain of major corporate members of its RFID lab, and included Walmart, included Target. I think even Amazon was in there. But they so there's like some ungodly number of billions of dollars that are lost each year due to inaccuracies in what a factory says they shipped and what actually winds up at a store, and everything going on in between. So they're looking to use RFID tags to tag everything that goes through, but then they need to track it as it goes along each point in the supply chain with they wanted to use blockchain, so that was one of the things that we worked with them on. And let's see the next one. So antimicrobial resistance. So this is a really cool project that we're doing with faculty at NC State. And so they're trying to understand and model what leads to antimicrobial resistance. How does it, obviously may arise randomly in some population of bacteria in a certain area. What then allows that to spread and pass on genetic material, et cetera, to bacteria or other lethal organisms around the world. And of course, a lot of it, as we see, may have to do with feeding animals with antibiotics, but then also things like air travel, natural disasters, which way the wind blows, all of those things. And so it's a very complex mix of things. And so they're trying to use our cloud technology both as a platform to do that sort of analysis, but then also to use some of our smart technology like Watson and AI to look for patterns that maybe weren't obvious to begin with from the data. Let's see, let's look at the next one. And please, I haven't been, so Watson and the Watt, that's a huge strategic initiative that we have with Clemson, where it's out of the Watt Center. The Watt Center is responsible for multidisciplinary projects and activities across the entire campus. So they've become a center of excellence for training and oversight of projects, et cetera, around not just Watson and our AI portfolio, but cloud, and we're looking to expand it in other areas. And so that's something that's been very successful as an efficient way of trying to support many projects across the entire campus. And so again, all of the things that we talked about bringing to bear to try and support that, we've been providing that. And of course, Clemson, I'll call it the premier engineering university in South Carolina, the state right next to the state that RTP is in. So very important to us. How are we doing on time? Do we need to, what's the time?
You have 20 more minutes for this
block.
Oh,
20 more minutes. Oh, okay. So I can. All right. Well, let's see the next chart then. And I think some of these are going to be cool projects that Ron on my team is overseeing. So I'll emphasize all of these projects here that we have. James, Annan, Blaine, Ron, they're all experts in a lot of these different technologies. Many of them have PhDs. And so they're outstanding in working with faculty and students in support of these projects, and working closely with professors teaching courses and understanding what they need from a cloud resource perspective. One of the great things that happened a few years ago was that NC State became the official academic IBM Q hub in the U.S. And so they have a lot of expertise around quantum computing. And so they work with various industry members, other universities, to both, take specific projects. Maybe it's in risk analysis, maybe it's like Delta needing to, solve optimization problems in terms of gate assignments. you know, all of those various problems need to be translated into a form that can run on a IBM or on a quantum computer, right? So it's, you know, quite a bit of skill in needing to do that translation, but that's what they're doing. They're obviously developing techniques and becoming very you know, expert in consulting on those solutions and on the technology. But then they also are the ones that they own a significant percentage of the cycles on, you know, some of the latest and greatest IBM quantum computing machines that are up in IBM Research in New York. Okay, and so you know, other universities are becoming members, and so they're starting to form a community of folks that can collaborate together around trying to take advantage of quantum computing to solve, you know, some of the very difficult computational problems that quantum computing promises to one day solve. But they're also developing both faculty and student talent in this space. And so, you know, we would love to see University of Miami perhaps join that consortium. And we can talk about that more maybe at a later date. And of course, as Yelena had mentioned, we're also then very interested in having something like this, a workshop, but focused on quantum computing. So we get some of the experts that are listed there. So Dan Stansel is the you know, executive director of the center. Patrick Dreyer is the technical lead at the center. One of our interns that worked for us, and he was my TA in my courses for many years. He's probably, for me, he's the technical superstar of the center, and he's working with Delta and Anthem and other industry partners. I think I can say Fidelity belongs now. So they're working on some really cool problems with quantum computing, and as you know, IBM is on track to go. I think they're like at 127 qubits. They're I think going to go up to 1,000 plus in the next year or two. So they've been pretty successful at keeping to their track. And so NC State is the school that you want to talk to if you want to get access to you know, those high-powered quantum computers as they're developed and released. You can. There's QuizKit. I think it's mentioned there in the bottom gray box. So, you know, all sorts of free educational material, how to get started. There's quantum computing emulators. You do have access. I believe it's to the 5 and maybe the 16 qubit machine, but there's a long line for it. And so, you know, we're happy to help you to work with NC State to get access to the latest and greatest quantum computing technology as well. And one of the folks on my team, you know, he's not on the call here, but he's actually an expert in quantum computing, and he's the official technical liaison to, you know, from IBM with the NC State Hub. So we'd be happy to work with you and discuss this further. Next chart. So here you go. So Ron, if you're on the call, you can talk a little bit about this and invite the folks here to participate.
Sure. So this is what I call the Cognitive Telescope Network. Very excited to have been involved with this project since almost 3 years now. So this basically came out of a discussion I had after Shane Larson, who's with the Northwestern University. He was giving a lecture and on gravitational waves, and that's how the whole project started. Every one of these projects has some history like this behind it, and then lots of coffee and discussions leading to some kind of a project like this. So what this is about so gravitational waves, as you know, is just a transient event. Hard to detect, but it's still a transient event, like any other transient events, like say supernovas or gamma ray bursts and things like that. So when you see some anomaly in the data, can you do follow up with telescopes and take some pictures at that time. So one of the biggest problems of doing that with large telescopes is large telescopes will never be available, like the Keck telescope. If you want to point directly at that particular time, it's probably busy doing some other research job. So what is the solution? Maybe we can have a network of telescopes all across the world, and not just in one place, and activate that network based on the event, based on the science that we want to do, and take some pictures and eventually analyze those pictures. So that's what this whole project is about. And then it's been broken down into multiple modules. As you can see, the big blobs down there, those are the separate modules. So we broke it down. And a few universities got very interested in it. It's so we had students and professors from different universities, Northwestern, Illinois Tech, NC State University, Sydney University, work on this project on an iterative basis and contribute to the open source. So everything is open sourced or is intended to. Sometimes it's not published because it's not stable enough, but the intention is always to be open sourced under the MIT license. So would be definitely happy to talk to anyone who's interested in this project or any of my other projects. We can move on to the next slide. I think there's some other project that I have there. Yeah, so this came out of some discussions I was having with a person who's a CEO of a pharmaceutical company here, and then the discussion led into Stephen Cowan from University of Arizona about how we can monitor mood and behavior of people with technology. And Stephen Cowan has a very interesting research he did called Dana. Some of the graphs are on the side. On the right hand side, what he did was he can actually analyze, and this is actually done on rats, not on human beings, of course. He can probe his carbon fiber probes that can actually be embedded inside the brain, and you can detect neuron transmitters and what neurons are getting fired at what period of time and things like that. So that led into the discussion whether we can actually monitor dopamine, serotonin, different neurotransmitters, and see how the behavior is. So of course we can do like probes inside a human brain. So can we do this sort of in a indirect manner, right? So there's a lot of papers and stuff that are released on how we can detect dopamine. Like the blinking of eyes is kind of related to the amount of dopamine level inside the brain. So some indirect measures like that, and then obviously use visual recognition, things like that to see when the blinking is happening, how the mood and behavior is changing. There's also the science behind the micro expressions and stuff. Which is again very difficult because there's only few people who are experts in that area. So, but anyways, so that's the idea behind that. So we did a few iterations of this project, and more than happy to talk more about it if someone's interested in this or anything else. So, moving on to the next chart. I think this is a separate project, not on my portfolio.
So Anand, do you want to talk about this maybe briefly?
This is another mode of our collaboration with the universities. So one university wanted to design a set of courses for data science using our data science platform. So our team worked with the faculties there and helped to build those 4 courses, what they were designing, and the practicums for those. So it's just not the like a previous example where from the research projects, but this is an example where we helped in the teaching curriculum.
All right, let's see the next chart. think it's meant to be a whole bunch of universities that we're working with. So there we go. So we have over the years through our center in RTP and our other centers in Chicago as led by Ron and in the Washington DC area, all the way up into Boston and other places, right? So we have a long history of collaborating with the schools. I think from all of those projects, then the common factor is that they're what I would call high touch relationships. We work directly with the professors, directly with the students, either on projects that are research projects or partnering together to develop curriculum, and most recently and especially around data sciences. But we just kicked off a cloud helping with the cloud computing course that's being taught at NC State by a professor, Dr. Yanis Viniotis. Those are all the sorts of activities that we pursue, and we're not just interested in supporting projects involving a professor and his or her graduate students, but we're also very much interested in working and supporting things like senior design projects or capstone projects, entrepreneurial projects, etc. We're always happy to provide guest lectures if appropriate for those classes, and that's like we're talking about who's going to give some guest lectures at the cloud computing course being taught at NC State. In all cases, we can provide a number of different types of support from cloud resources, software assets and services that may be delivered by the cloud, and in some cases monetary support. In some cases, I'll call it moral support with letters of support written to on behalf of grant applications, and of course then just our time in working closely with you, the faculty, with you, the students, on your projects. We love to give have workshops like this type, have other specialized education sessions. The guys on the team here meet often weekly with faculty and students on specific projects. They've been involved then, from the very outset on some of those projects and helping to provide design, how to make best use of various IBM cloud resources and data science, AI, etc. resources. And I'll emphasize that at the RTP site, it's pretty much a microcosm of all of IBM. So we support projects in all these areas that include cloud and networking, of course, quantum computing, high performance computing, mainframe. There's tremendous interest in mainframe, especially in our case here, we have all the major banks and such in Charlotte, North Carolina, just down the road a ways, maybe a few hours down the road a ways from RTP, but all of them are mainframe customers and very much interested in universities that provide talent. And I have to believe that's maybe a similar situation there in Miami. To security products, IoT products. And some of those are going to be big focus areas or have been big focus areas going forward. And we're not just restricted to collaborating with our traditional engineering partners. We work with, especially in data sciences and such, and in all of these various areas. We're interested in multidisciplinary projects, that might involve medical sciences, biotech, etc. We do a lot with BME departments in the area here. We're very much interested in partnering with folks in social sciences, folks in business, pretty much any and all, humanities even, right? I think we have a cool project analyzing Shakespeare plays at Clemson using some of our natural language processing and other technologies. So we invite all disciplines across the campus to certainly at least have a conversation with us and explore, how we might work together. I think I'll stop there. I hope, are we okay on time? Okay. So
Yeah.
I'll stop there, open it up to any questions and then turn it over to Anand and James for the next part of our.
Yeah, just I wanted to add a quick note to that Shakespearean thing. So we started working on an interesting project with UIC recently on VR AR technology involving theater. So anything is possible. How we can complement theater with AR technology, sort of thing. So.
And I don't believe Christopher Marlowe wrote any of Will Shakespeare's plays. So anyway, but any questions from folks here? All right. Well, then we'll move on to the next part. Oh, go ahead.
Actually, yeah, I have a quick question. So, who should I get in contact with and to discuss potential projects and even more learning opportunities out of everybody on the call?
So for everybody here on the call, I mean, if you're interested in proceeding on a collaborative project, send me an email with a description of what you're interested in, and then we'll set up a follow-up call with the folks, maybe some or all of the folks on the call now to discuss how we move forward. And you'll also have, I think there'll be the opportunity to talk about this as well at the end of this, the project clinic part on the schedule.
I have a general question. I know you have touched base on partnerships in terms of training the students. So if and then you also mentioned about some credits for in-kind in grant proposals. I really wanted to know, would you fund the internships as a part of a grant proposal?
Well, we're looking to try and increase the number of internships that we have with the IBM RTP site. I guess one of the things that we need to explore, I guess, is will students be able to come here to RTP, or would we be doing it virtually? We are trying to explore, for example, with Clemson, how to support students on projects in through internships where they remain on campus, and that's one of the things that the Clemson Watts Center provides us as a facility where students could meet with us either actually or virtually, along with perhaps professors that are involved in overseeing the project. So something we can explore.
I'm a new director to the Advanced Computing Services in the University of Miami. I apologize if I don't follow the terminology. What is RTP?
Research Triangle Park here in North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina thing. Okay.
Yeah. So Paul, I thought maybe I said at the beginning, but so RTP, or Research Triangle Park, is in North Carolina, near Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill area. And it is the largest IBM development site in the world. And so that's why we have every product represented. So I'm very fortunate to have such a great team, but also then to be situated where we are, where we can work with every major IBM product area with their technical experts and get executive support for those projects. I
can write to you offline. We're putting together a grant proposal, and I really wanted to see if there is a connection into cloud for the data science professionals we want to create through cyber training, NSF cyber training. So if there is a connection there, we wanted to see how we can partner in that.
Yeah. We already have granted free cloud to University of Miami, and James and Anand and the team have been talking with some of your IT folks. Elena can probably provide their names.
Right.
But also, there are other things. Anand is involved with Cloud Bank. If you're going to NSF, right, you can also request cloud resources through that, and we participate in that as well. So there are a number of different ways.
I would be more interested in grant support, not in the in-kind stuff.
Yeah, I know everybody.
But-
Everybody understands.
Everybody wants that, but so we can kind of talk about it offline. And I just wanted to
Sure,
ask this
sure.
anyway,
Yeah, I know.
just to understand.
Money is always,
Right.
hanging over there.
Right. Carrot.
And I put my email address in chat, so someone
Okay.
can support it. So,
I'll take that. All right. Thank you.
all right, I will shut up then, and well, unless there are any more questions, I'm not meaning to cut anybody off, but we can let Anand take over.
Likewise. Yeah.
Okay. Take it away, Anand.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Rindersch. So now we are into the third session of our today's agenda, which would be Ibm Cloud Platform. So let me put it into the screen share mode. In this session, we will talk about some of the capability you can use from our cloud, and we will also give a short 15-minute demo on how to use this cloud. So our Ibm Cloud is one of the leader in the open cloud infrastructure, so open innovation with a lot of security inbuilt and compliance inbuilt, and it's an enterprise grade software. One key strength comes from the type of hardware we support in our cloud, right from bare metal virtual machines to power system or G system. So those are something kind of differentiate us from other cloud provider. Another core part is it's all built around OpenShift Red Hat solution to provide different services and API interface. So it's done in a cloud native ways, kind of very easy transition if you are doing anything on-prem and you want to burst into the cloud or doing any of the hybrid cloud scenario. So on the platform side, we offer platforms for AI, for different type of databases, IoT, quantum, for any sort of those systems. And our cloud is in the multiple data centers spanned across the globe. So when we say our services, so there are tons of services. We have not listed all, but close to 400 services on IBM Cloud. And these services could be, these services range in various domains. They can be from compute to storage, like infrastructure services, or could be platform services where you have the AI platform, security platform, or IoT platform, and so on. So basically, as a user, if you're working on a project which involves a different type of database or a different type of storage need or a compute need with bare metal, compute need with some sort of secure server and other things, so all of those options are available through IBM Cloud. So just to go in more focused part within a cloud, let's focus on one of the platform, so our artificial intelligence AI platform. And similarly, there were other platforms, as you mentioned in the last slide. So in an AI platform, you get a lot of services. There are services, IBM Cloud Pack for data, which you can run in our cloud or your on-prem or in anybody's cloud. So it's a true multi-cloud services. And then there are some off-the-shelf services for NLP, NLU, and other AI technologies like speech-to-text and tone analyzer and so on. Along with that, we have a data science platform also, where you don't get the off-the-shelf product, but you have a platform where you can use all the open source tool or some tool and integration provided by the platform itself to build your own system or customize it the way you want. And we will show a demo of that in our second session. So our AI portfolio, just to summarize, it goes into where you run AI. So we give a platform where you can run our AI services anywhere you like. Along with that, we have lot of off-the-shelf services we can use if you find it useful, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But if you found that useful, you can use it as it is. Along with that, we also give you a data platform where you can build or connect any tools or services you like, or any open source framework you want to exercise on. So all of this is available through the Cloud Credit program and the Cloud Credit Award we have given to University of Miami. So you can leverage that. So in our cloud, the one thing we have given to University of Miami so far as a cloud credit is a giant account which we jointly manage. These accounts can be used by multiple faculty and their students in an isolated way. And all these platform and services in this account can be accessed right from the compute, storage, AI services, web development or deployment services, and so on. And James would show you a short demo how to use the account which we have given, so that you understand based on your need, you can talk to people managing this particular account and use it for your class or research. So over to you, James.
Yep, thanks, Anand. So let me share my screen. So I want to sort of highlight 4 major parts of interacting with IBM Cloud's platform in this short demo. So the first being creating a resource or service in the account, how the account's set up in terms of permissions, inviting users, and then finally viewing billing. So I'll walk through all of that, and then I'll pause between each part if you all have questions. Here we see just the home page of IBM Cloud account when you log in. I just have a sample account here for this demo. Here we have some amount of resources already provisioned just to give the account some volume. So here I'll show you actually how to create some of these services that Anand's mentioned. So the main place to create any service is under our catalog, which is the top center. So in the catalog, you saw Anand's slide had over 170 products. Here you can actually search through and view all of them. I'm going to just select a category of AI and machine learning, but of course any of them would do. And then within this, we have different options. So I'll actually talk about the Watson Studio machine learning services in the later demo today, but I'm just going to select Watson Assistant, which is our chatbot service. So you get a view here, which is sort of standardized between all services. It provides you information about the service, but also provides you this type of plan for the service, which would also relate to its cost. So many services include a light tier, which is a great chance to explore the service without having to incur costs. And then, of course, since we are a cloud platform, there's a certain location you can select for where the service is deployed in the cloud. And then we can also select the name of it. And then this slightly transitions to the other part involving how the account permissions are handled. So I'll just talk very briefly now, but a resource group can be thought of as a workspace inside your account. So you can think of it as like a folder or a workspace where all your resources are grouped together to work on. So maybe you have a research project, you want that to be its own isolated resource group, or maybe you're setting up a classroom environment and you want to have each student get their own isolated resource group. So I'm just going to select the admin resource group I've created just as an example, and then go ahead and just create this light tier service so you can see that process. But this is the standard pattern where you can go to the catalog, select the resource you'd like, and then go ahead and provision it in the resource group you want. So, and then here you get the standard view of the service. So this is just providing information about the service, but you can then oftentimes have the launch button to actually interact with it. outside the scope of this demo, I won't actually go over Watson Assistant, but there are ways to access it via API with the credentials here. So I'll just pause for 1 second. Does anyone have any questions generally about creating resources?
Yes. Hi, my name is Taylor. I'm a senior at the University of Miami. Are like University of Miami students able to get the software and like use the cloud currently?
Yes, so we are in the process to provide your University of Miami access to a general account where you all would get invited to your own isolated resource group. And then that would allow you to use the cloud credits we provide to the school to provision services. So that's if you want to use paid services through our cloud credit program. You as a student also can just create your own account, your own individual account, and that would give you access to light tier services.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And great. So about the permission. So that's an important part of the IBM Cloud Platform. So when we think of resource groups, I'm just going to navigate to how you can create resource groups. So it's under Manage Account. So a resource group, like I said, is a workspace to hold all your resources together that logically should be. So I have a few here. Like, let's say I have a data science project, but let's say I want to add one of my students, my grad student, to do their own personal research on this. I could just add this resource group and create it. And then we have to, not only do we have resource groups, we can think of this as like the thing that we want to access and use, but we have to think about the permissions on how to decide who gets to access what. So that's the second layer. So when I talk about access and permissions, we would look at that under Manage Access IAM. And here I'm going to go over what we call access groups and access policies. So we're going to stick to a pretty high level here, but you can think of an access group as a permission set for a particular resource group or multiple resource groups. But what you see here are a couple access groups I've created. So let's say I'm part of this data science project. I want to add another user to the data science resource group. I can associate them with this data science project admin access group. So I don't have anyone here yet, but it has specific policies here that associate with that particular resource group. So with this setup here, I can add someone to this specific access group, and they will only have access to the data science project resource group. So it's a way for you as a manager of an account to organize who can access what. So this is something that in terms of a classroom environment, it's very powerful because you can give each student an isolated resource group with the right permissions in access groups so that students can't look at each other's work if they have like individual projects they need to work on. Or like I've said before, if you have a research project, you could have 4 students all collaborate in the same resource group, work together. So it's a powerful way to sort of manage all your permissions. So that is quite high level, though I haven't gone over exactly how you assign each permission here, but that's something I can certainly do in a follow-up demo for those who are interested at a later time. But just for high level, does anyone have general questions about access control? What is a resource group, that sort of thing? Sure, and feel free to ask questions in chat. I'll try to keep an eye on that. Yeah, so that's 2 parts, creating a resource, sort of understanding how the account's structured. So I just want to show how you can invite a user. So I'm actually using sort of like a functional ID with this RTP CAS, but I'm going to invite myself to this account. So I'm just going to, this is under the user tab under manage access. So I'm going to invite the user, just put my email. You can do batch email, so you can like do a list of 100. I'm going to select just access to the data science project admin access group. So when I invite my JustCheck email, it'll only have access to a particular resource group. So I'm going to go ahead and invite. And then we see it's processing. And then hopefully in real time, I can pull up my email. Let's see. We'll get the invite hopefully soon. But basically, here we are. So you'll get invited to the account. So this is what, if you invite your students, if you invite a collaborator, they'll see an email like this. You can simply join. If you have an IBM account already, like I do, you simply just accept the terms. If you have not created an IBM Cloud account with this email yet, you just fill in the basic information like your name and other info, and then you'd click accept. So it sees I'm already logged in as myself, so I'm going to accept the invite. And then once it loads, I'll show you that you can compare what my access is compared to the other account user, which was the RTP CAS. So yeah, I'll click login. So it can get a little juggling both so profiles on the same screen, but what I'm showing you right here is the my Just Check email at IBM. So I have many accounts I'm invited to, but the one we're concerned with is the IBM Watson Demo one. Let's see, just refresh here. Yep, so here I've selected this particular IBM Cloud account that I'm working in. And you can see under my resource summary, I have 3 resources available to me. So if I go to that resource list, I'll see only those 3. And if I compare this, I'm going to switch screens. So this was originally my Just Check email. I'm going to switch back to sort of like the owner of the account, which is this RTP CAS. And you can see I have more resources available to me. So that's just a quick showing of inviting a user and assigning the proper permissions so you give them access to what you want them to see. Okay, so yeah, feel free to ask any questions here. I see something in chat. Oh yeah, so right, so yeah, IBM has moved to, I see, let me read it aloud. So the chat question, I have an IBM ID account, and when I try to create a cloud account, it is asking for a credit card. Is this required? So the answer is credit cards are now required for your personal IBM Cloud account. But if you are invited to an account which already has a credit card associated with it, you do not need a credit card. So in this example I've just been demoing here, my Just Check email doesn't necessarily have to put in a credit card if they're invited to this demo workshop account, because this demo workshop account already has the credit card. This is one of the major reasons we've even set up this Cloud Credit Award program. So if you're interested in trying out IBM Cloud without putting in your credit card, yes, yeah, so second follow-up question is, does University of Miami have its own account? Then yes, exactly. We would invite you all to this University of Miami account and put you in a isolated resource group for your project and your students. So you won't have to interact, or you won't see other professors' projects and students, but you all can still try and use IBM Cloud without requiring credit card. So this is definitely something where if you're interested, yeah, you would get an email invite to this account, this University of Miami account. So I know we're working with Yelena and the IT team at University of Miami. So if you're interested, you can still reach out to me, and then we can work with those mentioned to help make sure you can get access. So just like, you know, if you're interested in collaborating, you can reach out to Andy. If you're interested in getting IBM Cloud access for that project, you can include me in those discussion. Perfect. Okay, so So just refreshing. So that was inviting a user. So the last thing I want to do, I think I'm still got time. The last thing I want to show is, okay, so you're using an account. You want to sort of monitor how much your credits are consumed or how much money your services are using. You would look in the billing and usage tab in your IBM Cloud account. So this is under manage. So manage billing and usage. And you will then see sort of like an information dashboard about how much your credits or how much your services are consuming in terms of usage and credits. So this demo account's nearly brand new, so I don't have much data to show you all, but I did provision one paid service today. So you'll see that under the usage tab of March 2022, Cloudant is slowly incurring some cost for the month. At the end of the month, this should cost $25. So this is the place you would look to see how much usage your account has done so far. Just a little side note about our Cloud Credit Award program. So if you're added to the University of Miami account that we're gonna help make sure is all set up, you would see some amount of spend usage here, and then it would be sort of taken against the total cloud credits that we've allotted for University of Miami. So it would be something where you would have to just keep an eye. You would want to keep an eye on this number to see that it's not going over what we would have discussed with you in terms of monthly allowance or credit amount. So yeah, this is just the billing view. I think one nice feature, a part of this is what we call a spending notification. So this spending notification can be set up so that if you have the account, you can set up so that at some amount of threshold of usage, you get an email notifying you that you've used this much usage for the month, and then it goes to your email, and you can go back to the account and see what is causing the extra usage. So yeah, so that adds the billing part of the demo. So I know it's very high level, but it is actually hopefully enough to sort of get you started. And once you have access to an account, you sort of know how to create resources, the fact that there is a way to manage permissions and then invite users and check billing. So with that, I'll stop the demo section, but yeah, is there any last questions about anything I've gone over? Great. So yeah, I'll hand it back over to Anand for the rest of the research use cases.
So thank you, James, for showing an account which is very similar to what we have already provided to University of Miami. And feel free to discuss. And towards the end, in a project clinic also, we can discuss how can you use that particular account for your different research project, which involves services from our cloud. So with that, let me you some of the resources while you are the cloud for the first time could be cumbersome, like just the amount of services they offer, like close to 300 or to 400 right now. So there are few places you can go to learn more about those services. One good place is cloud.ibm.com docs, which gives a lot of starting tutorial as well as detailed document and the solution example, along with API and GUI level tutorial to use those services. Then we have an academic initiative page. You can go there where a lot of solution has been posted, which is useful for academic users. And at the same place, you also get other softwares, other IBM softwares, which you can put on your desktop to use. And then another resource which is quite useful is developer.ibm.com. It's a community-led initiative. You will find a lot of code patterns, design pattern for different type of projects in different technology area. So that is something good to look at. Along with that, the use cases we just mentioned, where our team is working with different universities around use cases on using our technology. So you can look at those pages at IBM Center for Advanced Studies pages. So with that, let me discuss some of the research case example, how different researchers have tried our cloud solution for various purposes. And probably it could help you to align your research project to one of these projects. So anyone in the CE department or other places where you work with the electronic design automation, the EDA workload, you know that's a very resource intensive task. And the way you work in a lab for these EDA design, you start developing these small snippets, trying out your EDA automation. And at a time comes when you are ready to go at full scale and test a particular hypothesis. And this full scale could be many hundreds or sometimes thousands of CPUs. So a lot of time people need it for need a scenario where they get some machines on their on-prem to try out the basic version. And once their code and every hypothesis is set for a short time, let's say 1 hour, 1 day, they need tons of like many times more resources. So that's a good example of cloud bursting. And this is an example use case where we tried up to many thousand CPUs, and these CPUs could be from a serverless computing environment, from a server environment, or from a cluster environment, and so on. So another, so that's one use case which demonstrate a lot of use cases at university, which is more into the HPC paradigm. Now, another use case which we are seeing a lot, students in a data science course or sometimes researchers doing a big data or AI pipeline, they need a lot of resources, but they don't need those resources all the time. So it's not a point of developing everything on the cloud. They want to keep using their laptop or lab machines to develop some application, but as the scale go really high, they want that workload to seamlessly migrate to a cloud. So probably many of you have heard the Ray framework, which came out of UC Berkeley, kind of allows any distributed jobs to run whether locally or in the cloud seamlessly using the framework command. So our some of the researchers have tried using the Ray environment on our cloud, and we currently support through an open source initiative a serverless computing environment where you can scale whatever you are doing on laptop to a serverless environment to a very, very high scale, or you can have a predefined cluster and scale that job to a cluster from your local laptop or local machine. So that sort of use cases are, we are seeing many interest in this kind of use case to do a pipeline which is seamlessly hybrid in nature, and initiation could be right from a small machine, student's laptop, to the on-prem bigger server to the cloud platform. So that's another use case we are seeing a lot, and you can use that. Another use case we saw types of hardware you get in the cloud, because in a cloud you get tons of machine configuration, right from small machines to big machine, memory intensive machine, CPU intensive machine, balanced machines, and then similarly storage block, different type of block storage, file storage, and so on. And that speed up a lot of big simulation to various degree. And there is one example, one team demonstrated that to just predict the weather, they used small machines, and they saw better advantage than to a bigger summit machine, which is really big. But because their job was not exploiting all the resources of that very big machine, so they end up getting more performance from a multiple of smaller machines for the same job. So any HPC or large scale simulation may require knowledge of these tuning of different hardware. And this is one example you can try within a cloud. And similarly, not only this, we are seeing the use case from NLP use case where you have tons of research paper and you want to go onto cloud and process them in real time. And those research papers could be in thousands or millions. And you can have that in more of a service-oriented framework as opposed to installing everything as a product on your on-premise. And we have research use case in genomics, bioinformatics, drug discovery, and some of the research case we already showed you in the previous presentation, what we are working with our different faculties. So there are, so in a nutshell, there are many opportunities to use these cloud credits or cloud resources to do research or do the classroom training where like if you are into computer science, CCE or other department where you want the students to know hybrid cloud, security, cyber security, data AI pipeline. For teaching purposes, you can use our cloud infrastructure. At the same time, if you have the some research projects where you need both the help from the cloud as well as help how to use them, our team can definitely help in those areas. So with that, that's like a very, very high level introduction about cloud, what we have in the cloud, how can you use that, and the particular instance of cloud which we have provided as the Cloud Credit Award, how can you use that, and then some example how people are using it for large scale computation, and some more ideas. And more ideas if you have on using our cloud resources, we can also discuss in the project planning. Any question for us? So after this, we because we kind of before starting this workshop, we thought like what would be more, what would be the topic which would interest most of the people, and one topic came as data science. So in our next presentation, which would be like after 5 to 10 minutes break, we can go into our portfolio of AI and data science in more detail. But let's take some questions if you have, or any generic discussion on our cloud or cloud capability or the use of it for like potential use of it for your research and teaching. Okay. So we have 10 more minutes before we go for a break. So any potential use case on anything we can discuss in those 10 minutes.
Yeah, and our next presentation, I guess we'll start at 2 p.m. after a lunch break or any break. And then, so yeah, us two will stick around at least until 1:30, and then we'll all rejoin back at 2 p.m. But if anyone has questions now, we'll stay around.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was recently hired by IBM as a federal developer in the DC office. And I had like a question about like what softwares do you believe like is really it's I guess important for like a new hire to get used to using? And what are your recommendations on like how I should go about like learning how to use like different cloud technologies?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm a little bit newer than Anand, joined IBM 2.5 years ago. So yeah, I really benefited from, well, first that IBM's made a large push in doing IBM Cloud as a big part of the company. So learning the cloud infrastructure, even just understanding how to interact with the cloud platform, kind of like what I demoed, that actually did take, I did some training to get more comfortable with that. But then also in terms of technologies, IBM's moving towards containerization in the cloud as a major part. So if you want to learn about Kubernetes, which is container orchestration, that's something that I've been learning in my first 2.5 years, and it's been a benefit.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
and along with that, there are cloud certification targeted to our developers. I think that would be a good place to get started. Means if you are more developer, you would like to learn the tools and technology which to develop our services or our capability in this service-oriented framework, what we have selected. And if you are an architect, you will see what James was saying in terms of infrastructure, how to build these services in a cost-efficient and highly performing manner. So focus on those certification. Those would be a good place to get started.
Thank you so much for those recommendations. I'll definitely look into it.
Hey, Taylor, one more thing. If you're really interested in working, you have some time. Usually when you join IBM, you have a little more time on your hands than what we do. If you're interested in working on any of the projects on my portfolio, more than welcome to join. So
Thank you so much for that. I was actually going to email you and ask about one of the projects I saw.
Yeah, that's just two of the ones I talked about, but there's a lot more, and we can just email me and we'll go through the portfolio. Whatever you want to join, feel free to join. Yeah.
Wait, did you put your email in the chat?
I think Andy did. Yeah, okay. You can go through Andy, but I'll put mine as well.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question as well. I know you spent the first half of the presentation talking about RTP and some of the research opportunities you did. I just wanted to ask if you have current openings for seniors. So I'm currently looking for opportunities for some of my classmates who are graduating in May. And I was interested in if you had any.
Yeah, so Isaac, you can always reach out to me and I can get you involved with any of the projects. Now, if you're looking for internship and stuff, that's a different question. So maybe Andy can help you with that.
Yeah, yes. So we'll be, after this, very much interested in you and maybe your fellow students to send us your resumes, right?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. I sent your LinkedIn and email to some of my friends, so you'll be reaching out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I see a question, chat. Did IBM retain Watson AI, or has that been sold off? It remains. Has it remained integrated into IBM Cloud Services? So Watson AI is still part of the IBM Cloud portfolio, which includes many of the services we'll highlight in more detail in the subsequent lecture. But yes, it's still part of it. I think you might be also referring to Watson Health.
Yeah. some portion of the Watson Health acquisition that news came to us that it was sold off, but the original Watson and all the AI capability are the big part of IBM and one of our priority area, along with the hybrid cloud. So the two words we always hear our leadership say, hybrid cloud and AI.
Any more questions?
Yeah, if no more questions, we could, I guess, officially start the 33-minute break, and we can all resume at the same space to go over the data and AI services as our next talk.
And the project clinic followed after that.
I'll follow that.
Yeah, so definitely think of some ideas you want to bring to the table in the project clinic. Okay. Thanks.
Yep, thanks. I'll be back at 2.